We have some new tour dates. Yep, going on tour February 2025, opening up for and supporting Wiz the MC on the Utopia tour. Tickets are available right this very second at nathanmorrismusic.com. Grab your tickets, please. Honored to be a part of this tour. Honored to be going on tour, and I am excited to travel. If you live in Germany, or maybe you want to fly to Germany, I'll be in Munich, and all the other dates are going to be posted. I'll link it below. And of course, nathanmorris.store, the official store, all things Nathan Morris merch, brand new merch available thanks to Jeremy. We have the Hearse crew neck. It's back. And so are some brand new hoodies to stay warm this fall, y'all. It's like 50 something degrees in Kentucky right now. It's pretty wild that it went from 80s, and Kentucky they have 2 seasons. You have all the seasons, but mainly 2. That definitely doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is that I'm honored that you're here. I meet you right here. Head over to nathanmorris.store and grab you some official swag so that I can continue meeting you here, because you keep the lights on. You really do. Join the Mortals exclusive first looks, first listens, exclusive music drops, giveaways each and every week. Mondays, music. Wednesdays, behind the scenes. And Fridays, giveaways. There are different tiers available. I would love for you to help me join this community of individuals that have access to but have interaction with. That is where you will find me a lot more than anywhere else. Exclusive Mortals group. Thank you for your financial support and support in general. Let's podcast. Been a pretty saucy couple of days. I don't know if you follow X, Twitter. It's been pretty wild over there, from political to all things Elon Musk to, Elon Musk, he's worth like $300 billion with a B dollars. If you don't live in the United States, that's a lot of money, which I think even if you don't live in the United States, you could realize that he is the epitome of just, he believes in it and he's going to keep going. And the naysayers, and we talk about that all the time. People can say what they want. People can tell you that you suck and are stupid and it's not going to work. And if you do not stop, then you can't fail. And we'll talk more about Elon Musk because of what he's done for humanity as well. But I'm just intrigued by it's like, he's so brilliant. He's like psychotically brilliant. And I don't even mean psychotic in a bad way. I actually mean it in like an endearing way, which is ridiculous. Thank you for the support of the new single, A Minute More. It's picking up steam. I can't expect being a new artist. Still a new artist. It's wild to say because I've been doing this since I was like 15 years old, singing since I was 8, but it's fun to watch and to not have any expectation and just allow it to be and to meet you. The new song is just this romantic belief and understanding that you and I were worth it. We're worth being loved and being loved well. And I hope that's what this song is, just so optimistic about finding that and embracing it and fighting for it. And I would appreciate you listening to it. And I'm grateful for those of you who have. It means a lot to me. It really, really does. Okay, before we dive into Elon Musk, it is time. First, you thought I would forget. This is the Mortals podcast. It's been a show. It is a show. It pulls back the curtain, takes down walls, brick by brick, and exposes the hearts of those caring for those you love most. And, the more I say that, the more it becomes more and more real in that life isn't about me. It's about you. And it's about just being totally honest, and wherever it is. And this episode and yesterday's episode or the day before, whatever episode that you've listened to, it might not resonate. Maybe this one does, but by my showing up, it gives it the opportunity to, versus not showing up. So there's beauty in that. It's not repetitive. I talk about the mundane. It may seem repetitive saying that over and over. And if I sound like I'm babbling, I'm just in my head realizing and acknowledging that, I say that it's a show which pulls back the curtain. It does. And I am constantly reminded of that. I think that's important, which of course also going into detail about saying positive. Anyway, okay, let's talk about 3 random facts because I'm rambling and that's stupid. Nathan, quit rambling. I can do what I want, guys. I can do what I want. Here are some cute random facts about penguins. I was thinking about penguins today. I think they're really, really sweet. They look like they have tuxedos on all the time. It's really sweet. Did you know that penguins propose with pebbles? In penguin species, some of them, like the Adelie penguin, I believe is how we say that, males present a pebble to the females as a form of proposal. If the female accepts the pebble, it signifies that they are ready to mate and build a nest together. These pebbles are often used to construct their nests, and males will search for the smoothest, most attractive stone to impress their potential mate. It's like giving a penguin engagement rings. And that is kind of what humans do. And don't even get me started. Because men will spend absurd amounts of money or more money than they need to or should or otherwise would or go into debt. And it's never, not always, but it's not good enough. And then they, unbeknownst to you, trade it in for something else. At least penguins, I guess, are happy with it, Penguins can fly underwater. They can't fly in the air. They are incredibly agile swimmers, often described as flying through the water. Emperor penguins, I like that name. They can reach speeds of up to 9 miles per hour while swimming. That's not even that fast. They use their wings, which are adapted into flippers, to propel themselves through the water, and their sleek bodies reduce drag, making them excellent at underwater flight. I mean, I can run like 75 miles per hour. I wonder, how fast can Usain Bolt run? I'm going to pull that up. He is the fastest man in the world, 27.8 miles per hour. Oh my Lord. 27.8 miles per hour. This penguin has nothing on Bolt. Just saying. But it's an emperor penguin, so that's cool. Penguin parents share child rearing duties. In many penguin species, both the mother and father, they take turns incubating their egg and caring for the chick once it hatches. For example, male emperor penguins are known for their dedication, keeping the egg warm in their brood pouch. It's a specific fold of the skin for over 2 months through the harsh Antarctic winter while the females are away feeding. After the chicks are born, both parents alternate between feeding and protecting their offspring, showing an adorable level of teamwork and family bonding. That, if you've ever watched like Nat Geo or a show about the penguins, it's very sweet how the males step up. I was going to make a joke about men being showed up by penguins, but it wasn't funny. And so I'll move on because those are your 3 random facts, and you're welcome. Yes, this is Rambling Rambles. Have you all been following Elon Musk? He revealed some really badass stuff the past few days. The Cybercab, the Robovan. It's incredible. I know someone who just got back from Scottsdale, and there were all these Jaguars that are Google Jaguars self-driving and around town. And yet they were very bogged down in the sense of that this huge thing on the top and these, I would call them sensors essentially, obviously for safety. I mean, I'm not how dare they have technology that's very big, but it was there. It was big. It wasn't like sleek, and it was just obviously so they didn't run into shit and hit people. But the the Cybercab and the Robovan are just true Elon Musk fashion, and they're sleek and they're. If you've seen the Cybertruck, just picture that style. And these are obviously driverless vehicles, and they're going to be the future. It's here. Think about that. Everything that's in the cartoon The Jetsons is happening or has happened, which is wild. It's wild to think about. It's really cool. We take for granted just how fast and how tech driven or just how much we have just exploded in this tech realm, where our lives have become so easy. We don't even have to vacuum our fucking houses. If we don't want to, we just have a robot do it, which is wild. It's really crazy to think about. And if you're living under a rock, it's the Cybercab. Elon has been in the news whenever he would release the Model 3 and all those new models. And he was an amazing, and still is, this amazing marketer. He would always talk about how they would be able to be self-driven, and you could sit behind the wheel, and people would post these videos on social media of their vehicles. And then there were a couple of lawsuits, I think, that got dropped. People were killed in car crashes because, reading books or sleeping or whatever. So all that to say, he's gotten a little bit of pushback, but it comes with the territory when you are innovating in just these massive, massive ways. If you don't have any Tesla stock, you should, but it's really expensive. Just saying. The Robovan is a 20-seat autonomous vehicle. It was introduced for commercial and personal. It functions as a school bus, cargo van, or RV. So these are both unveiled during this Tesla event in the Warner Brothers studio just a few days ago. They were able to test drive, people who were in attendance, the Cybercab. And people were saying it was incredible. So they now have what they're calling regulatory hurdles because, of course, what is it called? The crash test rating, right? They got to go through all of that. So they say Musk says it'll be 10 times safer, and likening their use to the convenience of operating elevators. He also teased that the Cybercab and Robovan would deliver on the futuristic promise of transforming how we approach transit. So his whole goal is eliminating the need for human drivers, presenting them as ideal solutions for urban transport. And that's what I was talking about in regards to Scottsdale and Google. And I think Google's going to have to step up their game. The Jaguar is a cool vehicle to have being autonomous, but you got to get rid of all those big ass sensors. Hey, have you ever had the Google maps or road, whatever, drive by and you try to get on? You get on the maps. I'm gonna Google funny Google picture, Google map pictures. These are awesome. There are people that work really hard to find the car. If you've ever seen it, you've probably seen it, you don't know you have, or maybe you know what I'm talking about, but they're these smaller cars, obviously white. This tall antenna looking thing on the top, and it has this dome. It looks kind of like a Doppler radar on the top, and it's just taking 365-degree pictures always. Could you imagine being that driver? And you're like, oh, gosh damn it, I got to go down this road again. Wonder how often they do it. I could Google it, but I don't want to. I started something new the other day. Last podcast, I was talking about filling my brain with negative, or I watched too many cop shows, crime shows, horror shows, things like that. And I could tell a difference of what was, happening. I felt not negative in the sense of, but heavy. And so I started listening to the Bible being read to me. We're starting in Genesis and go all the way through Revelation. I grew up going to private Catholic school. obviously in church they read chapters from the Bible, or we would have to quote some specific scripture that everyone knows, like if you were a WWE fan, John 3:16, or just the very basic. When I say basic, the ones that everyone knows. And again, if you pray or don't pray, or believe or don't believe, or Methodist and not Catholic, I meet you here. I mean that. I don't judge. I think it's important to expand your thoughts and your ideas, and just being educated is really cool to learn how something works, or in this instance, listening to the Bible being read, and then the words are provided a description, an overview that is not biased, just fact, like matter of fact. And again, fact in the sense of taking those words. What I mean is I don't think there's anything negative about taking that deep dive. And I've been excited to really dive. I mean, I've grown up in the church and I've never done this. So this is like a really cool thing to do. And it's really interesting because the Bible, in the sense of the chapters, they're not in chronological order. So the way that this app, if you've ever heard of the Hallow app, Mark Wahlberg's behind it. And again, this is not so much faith-based or Catholic-based, but just, there's a lot of historical truth that is in the Bible, just like there is, the Quran, or I'm sorry for not knowing the other books, but there are parallels. And I think it's really cool to learn that stuff. So all that to say is I had taken the step, and I'm diving in, and we'll see how this transpires, and it'll be interesting. Can't believe I'm in my 30s and I am just now doing that. But I guess it's a perfect example of you're never too old, or it's never too late to start something. And speaking of apps, if you're listening right now, wherever you're listening, I would love for you to leave a 5-star, well, actually a positive review, not 5-star. I'm not going to put that, make you feel that you have to do that. If you feel inclined to leave a positive review, that would be fantastic. But that's what I think is important. I think self-awareness, full circle, is really good. Hey, this crime, sad murder and mayhem podcast documentary world of mine that I love, because in my spare time I like mystery and unsolved, and that's why I love paranormal. And but I think being mindful of, oh wow, this is getting kind of heavy over here, fellas and ladies. Are you considering starting a podcast? If you are not, you should. If you are a business, or if you are a service, or if you are a brand, if you have a value offering of any kind, podcasts are super important to have, because not to mention the podcast itself, where we're able to connect with each other, right? And you feel like you're a part of. I mean, you all like this podcast, so why wouldn't you like another? But it gives you content that you're able to use for a very long time. Long form content turned into short. Descript, it basically takes all of the need to know how to do stuff out from editing. It's easy. It's transcription based editing. Or let's say you have to read a script because you don't know how to talk good. I don't read good. Well, if you don't know how to talk good, then you can just read. Like if I'm looking over here, I'm not going to turn it on, but you have an eye contact feature where it literally AIs your eyes to stare at the camera and not the teleprompter. It's magic. You also have green screen. It is October, spooky. But you have all these different features and options that make your podcast great, like the studio sound for editing audio clarity. You don't have to have the best equipment, is my point. You really don't. You have to point, shoot. You have no excuse. You should start a podcast. It's easy. It's never been easier with Descript. If you click the link right now in the description, you can get signed up, and you tell Descript that I and Nathan Morris at The Mortal sent you. That link will tell them that. Start your podcast now. You don't have to be a tech whiz, because they take all of the heavy lifting out of that and make you look and sound great. Descript right now is where you need to go. We'll see how this Bible thing goes. In the beginning, what if I just started reading? I'll keep you updated. And speaking of spooky, it's spooky season. You all seem to really like the paranormal stuff. I love it too. I really do. And I just watched on HBO Max this show about, and it was, people don't believe in it necessarily. Maybe you do. Jeremy, I know you do. Bigfoot. It's amazing. I watched this show on Bigfoot, and they have some of the most wild interactions that I've ever bore witness to. Heat signature, like, it's crazy. But that's what I want to talk about today is Bigfoot, and specifically Bigfoot in Kentucky sightings. Because you better strap in, get your Bigfoot primate spray, and let's talk about Bigfoot in Kentucky. Bigfoot's a spooky thing to think about, that there's this massive, some say 7, 8, 9 foot thing running around. Bipedal is what it's called. But this show, if you think it's ridiculous, it does sound ridiculous, but this show that I was watching had a lot of really interesting, I would say, proof. Now, one of the doctors, she studies primates, and she has devoted her life for nearly 3 decades traveling the world, and she has confirmed the existence of numerous species of primates that people said were not real. I mean, she would start with, of course, witness testimony, and then worked her way into finding some of these very elusive creatures and primates. And she was in the California mountains in the very northwestern part of the United States, and they were tracking this, what they thought was a group of a family, if you will, because they said that they might have found where they breed, and they found so much stuff, interesting, huge nests. And nests, like you think of a bird, yeah, I mean, pretty much. So every day, a gorilla, for instance, will weave with thick branches, essentially this massive nest, and will fill it with, picture just like pine leaves, pine branches, and they do not sleep in the same bed twice. They're just, I forget what it's called, but essentially they're just roaming. They're constantly going. And anyway, it's very interesting, and I was like, I am intrigued by this. I've always been a little intrigued, and it made me think of, there's sightings everywhere, and BFRO, Bigfoot Research Organization, is a real organization in the United States of America, and if anything, it's interesting to lose yourself in the rabbit hole. And, I'd rather study that than, what weird picture Kim Kardashian posted of her daughter drawing people like buried in the ground. I don't know if it's real or not, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should check that out. It's very odd. But Bigfoot sightings in Kentucky have sparked tons of local fanfare, fascination, especially in the Appalachian foothills and dense forests. It's like eastern Kentucky. One of the most notable encounters occurred in Anderson County in 1977, and it's known as the Wild Man of Kentucky case. Multiple witnesses, including local hunters, reported seeing this large, hairy creature standing over 7 feet tall, roaming the forest near the Kentucky River. Witnesses described the creature as having dark, matted fur and moving swiftly through the dense underbrush, bipedal, standing on 2 legs. Hunters initially mistook it for a bear until it stood upright, emitting a low, guttural growl. And there are recordings where you can listen to these types of growls. And of course, technology is so smart now. They've put it into systems to try to match it to other animals. And what it always does, this technology is always saying, hey, it's similar to that of a gorilla, but it's not. And specifically, like the feet. The feet are more man-like, because if you don't know anything about a gorilla, just a gorilla's feet are similar to that of like our hands, right? So our fingers, our forefingers that are outstretched would be 4 toes, and then the thumb itself is kind of like the big toe, and it if you're watching this, it's off to the side, the toe is, right? And this creature, every footprint that they found and cast, they have these flat feet that are very human-like, but the toes are similar. And it's just very interesting stuff. Witnesses describe this creature, of course, the dark hair. One man claimed to have come within 50 feet of this beast while tracking deer. According to this individual, the creature had a very musky odor and glowing eyes that seemed to follow him through the woods. After an intense standoff, the figure disappeared into the forest, leaving behind enormous footprints measuring over 18 inches long. And that is very, consistent throughout wherever these sightings take place or the footprints are found across the country specifically, but even the world. Another intriguing Kentucky case took place in 2015 near the Daniel Boone National Forest. A group of campers reported hearing strange, loud vocalizations late at night, followed by tree knocks and the rustling of heavy footsteps around their campsite. So they witnessed testimony of many a kind say that they hear the sound of trees knocking. And what that means is it's not just a branch, but we're talking like huge branches, not just like ones that you pick up and use as a walking stick, but and they're hitting the trunks of trees is what they believe. And even so much as throwing like massive branches or rocks in the vicinity of humans, like big, massive rocks or sticks kind of come into close proximity. And obviously a human could not do that. This show that I watched also showed proof of they take these big, again, sticks and have these formations, and they'll lean them against trees, and they're far too big for, just one human to do, especially in the middle of, like a redwood forest in California mountains whenever it's snowing in such a short time. But they believe that it's almost like a street sign, a road sign to say, hey, this is the way to, and then they followed and found another one, and then right after you see the area in which they were sleeping, which they thought was this breeding or birthing ground. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you should definitely check it out. So they heard all of these knocks and these footsteps around this campsite in 2015, and the next morning they found large humanoid tracks embedded in the soft soil, far larger than any animal known in the region, and of course human-like. One of the campers, an outdoorsman and survivalist, recounted seeing a shadowy figure watching them from a ridge, but couldn't get close enough for a better look before it retreated into the wilderness. Despite the skepticism from authorities who attributed the noises to animals or hoaxes, many residents remain convinced that something unexplained is lurking in these Kentucky forests. And there's another incident in 1980 in Trimble County, Kentucky. A man named Mike spotted this massive ape-like creature while driving home late at night. He described the creature as standing over 8 feet tall with dark, scraggly hair and a face resembling both human and ape-like features. And this doctor from the show they've taken DNA samples because in her studies and knowledge of, like, especially where they sleep, they know they leave DNA because a gorilla, for instance, will excrete a pheromone of sorts to mark its territory, kind of like a dog just peeing on everything. But the DNA that they uncover is Again, similar to that of what they've seen in primates, but not a gorilla or a primate, if you will. So it's constantly just reaffirming the fact that this is not an animal that has been recorded, essentially. It's pretty amazing. The encounter turned frightening for this man in Trimble County when the creature ran alongside his car for a distance before disappearing into the darkness. Mike later recalled feeling an overwhelming sense of dread as though the creature was studying him. And there is, the human ear can hear as low as 20 decibels, I believe. And anything below that, the human ear does not pick up on, like elephants, tigers, whales, and even gorillas. They will communicate in these very low frequencies. And it has been proven that some of these low frequencies cause unease for the human ear, to the point where a human becomes disoriented, and they've attributed that to these uneasy feelings that people have stated feeling when one of these quote unquote Bigfoot are around, but also anybody who's in the paranormal world with energy and sounds. And if someone who is, or in this instance, let's say a spirit is communicating, they are communicating at a frequency that a human can't hear with their ear. That's why they have those special recording devices, but also that's why people feel these senses of disorientation, of illness, because those levels can have that type of effect. It's very, very, very wild. An eerie account from Pike County in 1993 when two teenage boys, Pike County's in Kentucky, were camping near Fish Trap Lake. In the middle of the night, they woke to strange noises. Heavy footfalls, breaking branches, and deep grunts. Armed with flashlights, they ventured out of their tents to investigate. What they saw was horrifying. A large, hulking figure standing near the edge of their campfire, swaying back and forth. The boys claimed it had these glowing eyes and was covered in a thick fur. One of them later reported that the creature let out this bone-chilling scream before running off, leaving behind a series of large footprints near the camp. The Daniel Boone National Forest has also been home to some of the most unnerving sightings. In 2012, a family hiking near Red River Gorge encountered what they believed to be a Bigfoot. According to their account, they heard these loud tree knocks and saw this large, dark figure moving through the trees parallel to their path. Now, I know there are drifters. I know there are people that might be camping in the Daniel Boone Forest at the same time or anywhere across the country or world that could do these things. But I guess my point is like, who's going to go and fuck around with people to this extent on this many occasions that are documented? You get what I'm saying? In 1993, people aren't Googling things to say, oh, well, these witness testimonies are all over the country are saying that these things are hitting with big branches and throwing rocks and have these massive feet, and let's go cut out some wooden 18-inch footprints. I guess the hoax is now it's possible to have and carry on, but back then it would be arguably impossible as far as the delayed information, if that makes sense. My point, in 1993, kids camping, they're not going to be having people mess with their tent. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Let me know. You can, if you want to. The most disturbing part of the 2012 incident near Red River Gorge was when they realized the creature was seemingly trying to herd them away from a specific area, blocking their path each time they tried to move forward, which is interesting. I wonder if it was like protecting its young or this area. It's very wild. These sightings and others across Kentucky have led to a strong belief in the existence of this cryptid lurking in the state's forest. What makes these even more frightening, the tales, is the consistent detail of the creature's aggressive or territorial behavior, leading some to believe that Bigfoot is not just this elusive but potentially dangerous creature. And again, the consistent detail is what I was fumbling to try to say. It's just interesting that for so many years, even before the information and social media, and this was a story that was stated similarly throughout the country and world, like similar cases and instances. You should do a deep dive into the Bigfoot, and there are so many stories, and I love this kind of stuff. We love to know why, how, what, when, where, and when we don't know why, we either make it up or continue to seek it. And that's why in my spare time, when I'm not writing and rehearsing and recording and everything else, I'm doing deep dives on Bigfoot. I can do what I want. I'm a grown-ass man. Do you believe in this stuff? Do you have any Bigfoot stories? Have you seen Bigfoot? Because if you have, that would be super awesome. From Elon Musk to penguins to Bigfoot. Where else can you find this random set of information? You're welcome, world. You are welcome. Your love, Harmon, you can know. I know you could be doing anything, and for you to be here means so very much to me. Thank you for your consideration and leaving a positive review. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.